Many of you know Jericho was founded almost 20 years ago when God put a burden on my heart for women in prostitution. Over the years, He showed us that we needed to reach out not only to the women, but also to their children to break the generational chains of bondage that have plagued their families. We began with a daycare center, which grew into a school, and then we built our children's home in the country. Last year, we experienced difficulties in our school in the city. Between an increase in government regulations and a decrease in donations that could be used for teacher salaries, we wondered if God wanted us to close the school, as did another ministry we've been associated with. We fasted for a week in October to ask the Lord to show us what to do. He led us to Isaiah 54, 1 through 3. Verse 2 says, "Enlarge your house, build an addition, spread out your home, and spare no expense, for you will soon be bursting at the seams. Your descendants will occupy other nations and resettle the ruined cities. Fear not, you will no longer live in shame. Don't be afraid, there is no more disgrace for you." At the time, it really didn't make sense to us in the natural. How were we going to move our tent pegs out when we were barely keeping our heads above water? But we believed God was saying, "Get ready for increase." So we obeyed and took the necessary steps of faith. Our plan was to reach out to more students from families living in the dump and from families living in high-risk areas of the city. We hired a bus driver who would pick up the children who come from these areas of the city and applied for a grant for another school bus. And then God began to move. He not only provided the right staff who have a passion for the lost and the marginalized, but also the bus grant was approved. We started our school last week with over 60 students. Roberto, Marlon's husband, leaves his home before dawn to pick up the children from families in the dump, the same children who were attending a bilingual school that was closed down due to the government regulations. We believe God has His hand on these children and has great plans and purposes for their lives. We are also seeing increase in our children's home. And this week, we invited 4 more girls into our Jericho family. They are from the Lenca tribe in Intibucá. Elvia had taken all of our children on several mission trips there, and that's when we found out about their need for a family. Our women's workshop is also preparing for increase. Olga, who is Gustavo's wife, has joined Myra, and they are getting everything ready for the time when the Lord begins to bring in more women.
If you feel led to help us, one way is to become a sponsor of one of these precious children. By entering our webpage, www.myjericho.org, and clicking on the donate button or the sponsor button, you can become a sponsor to one of these beautiful kids.
Thank you all so much for being a part of all that God is doing through Jericho. Thank you for sending us amazing teams who pour out love on our children and for praying for us and supporting us. We truly are blessed to have you all as part of our Jericho family.